Let's be honest for a second. Are you actually training or are you just documenting training? Because that leads to a much deeper question. What really shapes a fighter? Is it technique or is it the ability to train when nobody is watching? When there's no camera, no applause, no likes? And this question is not just about fighting. It's about how people build anything meaningful over time. Welcome, friends. I'm Fred. Here we talk about training, real life, business, and investments, all from my personal perspective. And today, we are talking about training, real training. First, I need to make something very clear. I don't consider myself a fighter. I'm simply someone who has trained martial arts his entire life. I started as a kid, had a few amateur fights when I was younger, nothing extraordinary. So, I'm not here to explain how to create a professional fighter, but I am qualified to talk about what training does to people over time. So, let's go to the question. What really shapes a fighter? Technique or the ability to train when nobody is watching? At first glance, this sounds like a tricky question. And honestly, talking about technique alone is a dead end because without consistency, training, especially when no one is watching, technique simply doesn't exist. Technique is not an information. Technique is adaptation. And adaptation only happens through repetition over years. People talk about technique as if it were something you collect, as if you watch a video, copy a movement, and suddenly you have technique. That's not how it works. Boxing is complex. Kicking is complex. Balance, timing, distance, rhythm. None of this is intuitive. Now, let me add an important counterpoint here. Discipline alone is not enough either. You can train hard every day and still build bad habits. So, no, this is not an argument against technique. It's an argument against performative training. Real training is where discipline and technique meet. Discipline gets you in the room. Technique improves because you are there consistently. But neither survives without patience. And this brings us to the Instagram era. Today, a lot of people confuse exposure with progress. Someone trains Muay Thai for a week, doesn't know how to move yet, and their Instagram already looks like a highlight reel. I've seen people go into training fully made up, makeup, hair perfect, and that tells me something important. When training becomes about how you look, it stops being about what you are building. I'm not anti Instagram. We live in this world. Sharing is part of it. Post your training. That's fine. Just don't let the spotlight replace the work. A few days ago, I was helping a guy at the gym. He was trying to learn a spinning kick. He tried once and asked, Fred, is this right? I corrected him. He tried again. After a few attempts, he asked again, now, is it right? And eventually, I had to stop him and say, you are not going to get this kick right today. And that's not failure, that's reality. Technique is not something you fix, it's something you grow into. The corrections I gave him were not for today. They were seeds, and seeds take time. I like to think about training the same way I think about investing. You are building physical capital, health, mobility, coordination, resilience. And just like financial capital, this compounds quietly over years. You can hire a coach, great idea, but the responsibility never leaves you. It's your body, your limits, your consistency. When you hit a plateau, you don't complain, you adjust the process. And here's the hardest question: are you really training, or are you acting like someone who trains? Most people don't train at all, so even imperfect training matters. But if you want to evolve, honesty is no negotiable. I'm 46 years old. I know my limits now, so I train smarter, not louder. 5 minutes at the end of training, one kick, slow, control, then explosive, every session. Boxing is the same. The rip rotation in a cross. If you stop paying attention, you lose it. Jab, cross, reset, over and over. That's not exciting, but that's how skill is built. Technique doesn't come from talent. It comes from consistency when nobody is watching. Instagram is part of life. Just don't confuse visibility with progress. Let me know in the comments what you think. What shapes a fighter more, technique or discipline, when nobody is watching? Thanks for being here. I see you in the next video.